Okay, so here's our last example for getting this into the format for the equation of a circle coming from standard form. Once again, just to reiterate, we need to use completing the square. Okay, and so what we're going to do here is the first piece is the organization of it, and like I said in the previous video, I group the like variables, and I also take the constant and move it over because that's going to be a part of my radius. It's not the radius, it's a part of it. Okay, so the first step, I'm just going to go ahead and group it. And move the constant over. I'll go ahead and do this one in red and this one in blue again, and we're going to complete the square. So, you know, if you can speed this process up by knowing the patterns, go ahead and go for it. If you need to write it out step by step, do the same. So we're going to go ahead and add in a middle term divided by 2 squared plus, now we're going to do the same thing for the y's. We're going to complete the square for the y terms. And we have a middle term divided by 2 squared. And then I need to add these guys to the other side. And I'm just showing that what I added to one side, I added to the other. And my colors were a little off, but I got to switch those around. Just so I'm consistent with which one's coming from which. Okay? So I had the middle term was -2, so I take that, divide it by 2, and square it. The middle term here was 2, so I take that, divide it by 2, and square it, and that allows me to complete the square. Inside the parentheses, this guy is going to be -1. This guy is going to be a +1. And the trick is, when we go ahead and complete the square, we're going to end up with a quadratic that we need to factor. And the quickest way to factor is just to know that whatever this term ends up being, right, it's -2/2, which is -1. We don't have to go through the process of seeing the quadratic and factoring. We just know that it's going to be this quantity squared with the -1 with the x. And that's just the pattern. So now I'm going to do the y, and then I'm going to get my my radius. And so I have 7 plus 1 plus 1, which is 9. Okay, so here is my solution, x minus 1, quantity squared, plus y plus 1, quantity squared, is equal to 9. So here's my standard form. And by looking at this, I know my center is at 1, -1, and my radius is the square root of 9, which is 3. And that's how we can use completing the square to take something in standard form and reformat it so it's a format for an equation for a circle.